Hello. Today is Thursday, May 7th, 2026. Here is your daily signal. According to Bloomberg, India's largest LNG buyer Petronet has not received its usual shipments from Qatar, as disruptions from the Iran war continue to block energy flows through the Strait of Hormuz. The strait remains a strategic waterway carrying about 20% of global oil supplies, and since the war began in early 2024, Iran has repeatedly threatened to choke off passage in response to sanctions and rising tensions. Major energy producers like BP, Chevron, and Saudi Aramco depend on the strait, while the U.S. Navy and its allies are working overtime to guarantee maritime security amidst these challenges. Reuters reported a 35% surge in shipping insurance rates for tankers after recent missile attacks by Iranian forces, and Bloomberg notes global oil futures have soared to $97 per barrel as several LNG carriers were halted. The Wall Street Journal adds that the U.S. Navy is expanding escorts for commercial vessels after an attack on a Saudi tanker. All these developments suggest oil prices may spike above $100 per barrel in the short term, fueling global inflation and affecting both Asian and European economies dependent on Gulf imports. Insurance costs are likely to rise, and supply chain disruptions could drive medium-term investment in alternative energy and regional pipeline rerouting. Next, on to China's new legal moves under the ongoing U.S.-China sanctions standoff. Fortune highlights that China is now openly defying U.S. sanctions, deploying its 2021 anti-foreign sanctions law to protect its firms from what Beijing sees as foreign legal overreach. Since the Trump administration blacklisted Chinese tech companies in 2019, both sides have used increasingly complex legal instruments targeting the technology, defense, and financial sectors, impacting not just bilateral trade but global supply chains. The U.S. Department of Treasury and Commerce enforce sanctions, while a joint statement by Chinese ministries threatens legal action against American technology exports. Chinese companies like Huawei, ZTE, and SMIC remain key targets, and U.S. semiconductor giants including Intel and Nvidia face growing restrictions. On May 7, China announced new countermeasures against U.S. defense contractors, and the Treasury issued fresh guidance restricting investments in advanced Chinese semiconductor firms. The near-term consequence is increased export barriers for American tech and defense firms, risking millions in lost contracts. Medium-term, supply chain fragmentation may accelerate desinicization in U.S. markets, and China's legal innovations might encourage other countries to adopt similar frameworks. An escalation in sanctions could undermine international trade agreements and spark further retaliation worldwide. Now, let's delve into ambitious advances in quantum and classical computing collaborations for molecular simulations. New Scientist reports a breakthrough in molecular simulation. Two quantum computers and two supercomputers joined forces to simulate the biggest molecule yet with quantum hardware. Quantum computing uses principles like superposition and entanglement to tackle complex molecular problems, while classical methods such as density functional theory remain foundational. Since 2016, hybrid algorithms like the variational quantum eigensolver VQE have combined quantum with classical processing, and recent improvements in quantum error correction and cloud-based systems accelerated progress since 2023. IBM, Google, and IonQ lead on hardware and hybrid platforms, and academic collaborations with MIT, University of Toronto, and ETH Zurich are advancing research. Projects like the Quantum Molecular Design Consortium are multinational, with eminent researchers like Al Nasfiru-Guzik, John Preskill, and Yudong Cao shaping the field. IBM announced successful simulation of a complex organic molecule using its hybrid workflow, while Google demonstrated a fourfold speedup in molecular dynamics simulations via its Sycamore quantum processor integrated with TensorFlow. These advances could enable faster, more accurate drug discovery for pharmaceuticals within 3 years, and industries like automotive and materials may see reduced design time for catalysts and polymers. Medium-term, quantum classical partnerships will likely model larger, more complex molecules than ever before, and enhanced cloud-based workflows may democratize high-fidelity modeling access for smaller labs and startups. Now, onto the markets. European markets moved slightly lower, with Germany's EWG closing at 42.06 and France's EWQ at 45.87, while top gainer Xometry surged 36% and loser and Gene Therapeutics plunged 93%. In Italy, EWI saw a modest decline finishing near 58.71, and Spain's EWP closed at 57.19, with two gainers standing out. On up nearly 36% and Agilent Health rising 116%. The Netherlands EWN ended up at 64.71, declining slightly, while October's shakeout drove Shake Shack down almost 29%. Among Asia Pacific, Japan's EWJ retreated slightly to 91.285, with the Hong Kong EWH closing essentially unchanged at 24.40. China's FXI dropped to 37.28. While Alibaba's BABA gained modestly and JD fell. Commodities showed mixed performance. Gold GLD edged higher to 433, but uranium URA and lithium LIT posted sharp declines. Silver SLV stood out, jumping over 3% to 72.31, while platinum PPLT ended at 186.06 after a small dip. Agriculture slipped, with DBA finishing below 28, while carbon credits KRBN retreated moderately. Tech favorites saw Microsoft MSFT rise 2% to 422.37, Nvidia NVDA up 2% to 212.12, and Oracle flat at 194.07, but AMD slid 4% and ARM suffered a 10% drop. Apple climbed almost 1% to 289.10, while Amazon declined modestly. S&P 500 SPY eased to 732.18. While semiconductor stocks fell 3% and Marvell MRVL retreated 6%. That's it for today. You can find more news and details on our website. Goodbye.